Hello world, I'm Hayley Solich, I'm your host, and this is the Gold Digger Podcast, where we're digging the dirt and finding the gold in people's lives. Grab a cuppa, sit back, relax and enjoy the show. Before we start digging for gold, I just want to acknowledge that I'm broadcasting from Wajak Noongar Budja here in sunny Perth and pay my respects to the traditional custodians of this land, both past and present. I want to acknowledge the connection to land, country and water and the beautiful family systems that exist within our Aboriginal people group. So as you know, this podcast is about unearthing the wisdom from ordinary people's lives. What drives the decisions that ordinary, everyday people like you and me make? What causes people to take a road less travelled? I've always sort of wondered, why do people do the things that they do? And what did they learn from those experiences? But before we get down and dirty with Debbie, our first guest, and start digging around in her life, I want to share with you a quote. I found this quote and it just seemed to highlight some of the things that we're going to be talking about today. It's a quote by Oliver Wendell Holmes. It says, "Where we love is home, home that our feet may leave, but not our hearts." I'll read that again. Where we love is home, home that our feet may leave, but not our hearts. I don't know about you, but I love going home to a home that reflects my personality and character. You know, having rented for many years and put up with the green and the blue walls and the, furniture that doesn't match, I recognise that can cause stress in our lives. Not being synchronised with the environment can be a little bit stressful, and not having your personal tastes surrounding your life can cause people who are that way inclined, if you're someone creative who's aesthetically aware, it can cause you a bit of stress. So for me, I like to have a home that reflects who I am and I'm part of it and it's part of me. And I remember a few years back, I parted ways with my husband. Don't worry, we're back together now and doing fine. But at that time, we weren't doing so fine. And this house, had some girlfriends. They organised a house for me. And when I moved into this house, that's when I realised how important what you surround yourself with is. Because this house had beautiful ochre walls, it had lovely jade blue carpets, and it felt like I was connected to the land and the sea. It just had that sense of nature around me, and I found it very soothing to live in that house. I felt at home. And so that sort of told me that colour was pretty important to me in my surroundings. But not everyone chooses to own a home and have the luxury of painting walls the colour they like, or even to rent a home. And our next guest has spent over a decade professionally house sitting. I know you're going to be blown away by her lifestyle choices. Debbie is a dynamic retired woman, lucky Deb, who was known as the gutsy woman when I met her on Twitter over a decade ago. She was living in the US at that time, and I said she should come and visit Perth. I probably said that line to every person that was overseas at the time, but I meant it. She should come and check it out. I could hear her giggling in the background. I didn't realise that she'd take me up on that invitation, but she did, and we've had a wonderful friendship ever since. And I'll let Deb tell you all the rest about how that came to be, about her life and her work. Welcome, Deb.
Thank you. I'm really pleased to be here. I always love chatting with you.
Awesome. And so, Deb, I'm going to ask you a question before we get into down and dirty stuff of digging up the gold in your life. This is a question I ask all my guests because it just sort of helps our audience to kind of know the animal that they're working with. If you had to choose an animal that best characterises yourself, which animal would you choose and why?
This just popped into my head, by the way, because of some of the things that you were saying. I would say chameleon.
Ah, awesome. And why would you choose the chameleon?
Because a chameleon can adjust to wherever they are. They just change their color. They change who they are, but still being the same inside, but looking different on the outside.
Yeah. Awesome. I think that probably well describes you too, Deb. I think as we're going to get to know a little bit about yourself, how about you tell us a little bit about who you are? I mean, I've given a little broad brushstroke of what I know of you, but perhaps if you could just tell us a little bit about your history and who you are as a person, that'd be great.
I'm one of those people that has lived life on the edge and have probably be considered like the black sheep of the family sometimes, doing what I want to do without worrying about what people think about it. And even if I did worry about what they thought about it, I went ahead and did it anyway. So not to say I've been a bad person. I've done a lot of nice things in my life, but I truly care about people. I truly love life. And I never wanted to be bored. You know, I was the kind of person where I always needed adventure and trying new things. And I met a match in the guy that I married. And you know, we kind of fed into each other and gave each other support and did some crazy things together. And yeah, so that's me. We're retired, but we're still, you know, ready for adventure.
Fantastic. And I do know that you're the adventurous type. I've seen you on that push bike and seen all the wonderful photos of you touring around Australia doing your house sits. It's just had an incredible lifestyle to follow on Facebook, I must say. I just want to backtrack a little bit just to let our listeners know. I consider myself the horse. So you know the animal that I am that you're working with here. And that's because I'm cantankerous, sensitive, strong and stubborn. But I'm a great team player. So if you want to play Monopoly in pairs, I'm your woman. I'm pretty good at Monopoly. And I just love that horses are overcomers. They seem to sail over the obstacles in their life. And then if they're, you know, feeling a little bit challenged, they'll send the rider over and stay in the safe zone. You know, they're a pretty good judge of what not to have a go at.
But you know what? That it does suit you in the way that people love horses. There's something about a horse that has some sort of inner thing that you know just attracts people. And I would say that's you.
Oh, sure. Thank you, Deb. So coming back to our topic, which is the professional house sitting journey lifestyle choice. I know you've had many challenges in your life with your own homes, like flooded basements and all kinds of things going on when you're in the US. But what's been the biggest challenge that you've experienced in adopting this lifestyle of living in other people's houses?
I would say, let's see, what was the biggest challenge? The biggest challenge was figuring out what we had to pack in the car and what we couldn't. Because, you know, we started out on the East Coast when we first started doing house sitting, and we came over with basically nothing. So it was easy back then because basically all we had was our clothes. And then as, you know, the years went by, we accumulated this and we accumulated that. And then pretty soon we had 2 storage spaces and stuff at our daughter's house. And it's like, what are we going to do with all this stuff? We had to get a bigger car. Then we had to get a trailer. So yeah, that was probably the biggest, other than, you know, the last couple of years with COVID, because we were used to house sitting full time year round. And we had it built up where, you know, we would have maybe a week in between or 2 weeks in between, you know, we could go camping or something in between. But then COVID came along and it just decimated what we were doing. Nobody was traveling, obviously. So yeah. So then it was pretty tough because then we had to rent. We had to pay rent for the first time in our 10 years or 12 years wow. Or whatever it was. That was a little painful. But yeah, those would be probably the biggest 2.
Yeah, and I think it is incredible that you could live for a decade and not pay rent, you know, apart from those small little windows. Just, I mean, that must have afforded you opportunities to do other things.
Like, oh, well, that's it. That's the trick, you know. It's like if you don't have, well, and it's not only we didn't have to pay rent, but we didn't have utilities. We didn't wow. have, you know, we didn't have anything. Basically, just we bought our food. We had to have gas in the car. Yeah.
Fantastic. Amazing. Just because I'm nosy Parker, tell me about the best place you stayed at.
Oh, I would have to say this place in Queensland. It was 600 acres in the rolling hills of the hinterland of the Noosa area.
Wow.
And the people who owned the house, he was the ex-CFO of Mars Corp. And they had just built the house 2 years previous. So it was massive beautiful. And very Bali-ish, where you could open the doors to these rolling green hills. Uh-huh. And it had 2 kitchens. And I mean, it had a pool In the back, it had tropical plants, like tropical plants that you'd see in Bali, all
Wow.
around it. And we had a housekeeper that came once a week. And we had a pool guy that took care of the pool. And we had people taking care of the lawn and the flowers and all that kind of stuff. So basically, our biggest job was taking care of the dog.
Wow. And you do get a lot of pets that you become attached to, don't you, in this sort of work?
Yeah. Probably 98% of the time we have pets, yeah.
Yeah, wow. Well, so I'm just going to take a break and then we'll be back to actually uncover the gold, because we've heard about some of the experiences, but we're going to dig a bit deeper and find the gold.
Voices going round in my head, I don't believe them, don't believe what they said, but the light is calling, it's calling, someone help me to find my way. Just can't keep moving with missing pieces of my soul. Nothing feels like it used to anymore. Mom told me who I need to be, 'cause I can't find me. Shattered like the pieces of my life, broken and scattered. I try to find the light. Darkness consumes me. It consumes me. I just can't find who I need to be. Just can't keep moving with missing pieces of my soul. Nothing feels like it used to anymore. So many people want a piece of me. I'm drowning and they see. Just can't keep moving with missing pieces of my soul. Nothing feels like it used to anymore. So many people want a piece of me. I'm drowning and they see. Just can't keep moving with missing pieces of my soul. Nothing feels like it used to anymore. So many people want a piece of me. I'm drowning and they see. Just can't keep moving with missing pieces of my soul. Nothing feels like it used to anymore. So many people want a piece of me. I'm drowning and they see.
Hi, I'm Hayley Solich, and you're listening to the Gold Digger podcast. And I have my fabulous guest, Debbie Ducic, who is a professional house sitter. And we're talking differences of choices with homes. So I wanted to have a conversation now with Deb too. We're digging into the gold. We've sort of heard a bit about where she's lived and some of her experiences. But I wanted to ask the question, how has this choice shaped the person that you are today, the choice to live in other people's homes professionally?
Well, it afforded a lifestyle that I was a lot freer, because when we left the U.S., I had just gotten done looking after 3 of the oldies, my dad, my grandma, and my aunt. And then I had 2 kids, so I was kind of the sandwich generation, taking care of the oldies as well as kids. We had a huge house. We had a big business that was busy. And we had this huge house that was very expensive to run. And it was a lot of responsibility. So when we decided to move to Australia, and we basically just had no idea that we were going to be doing house sitting, it was, it fit into our adventurous feeling, but also it just allowed us to have a lot more freedom. And when you have freedom, it's like, I don't know, it just changes you. It changes your life when you don't have all of those responsibilities on you. And it lets you try things that you've never tried. It lets you live ways you've never lived before. It lets you see animals that you've never seen before, and flowers that you've never seen before, and do things in the ocean because we were landlocked before. And so just
Wow.
it like gave us pretty much just a new life.
Yeah, fantastic. And I think you've, from my understanding, Deb, you've done the East Coast pretty much top to bottom, and the West Coast you've done. Where was the highest that you've been on the West Coast?
Right outside of Geraldton.
So you've done pretty much Geraldton right down to Albany on the West Coast. You've probably seen more of Australia than most Australians. And to have those experiences of living in different communities. I mean, every community's got a different feel, I think. So what a cultural experience that must have been for you.
It was. And it wasn't like I didn't have a job. I did get a job when we moved, as you know, to Western Australia. But I fell into work that my territory was Western Australia. So the beauty of house sitting is I could stay and house sit in any community where my clients were.
Oh,
so that left it pretty much wide open, and it allowed me to stay in one place and get to know the market, get to know my clients, get to know the people that were what that particular lifestyle is, what the feeling of that particular town was. So it was awesome. It was quite an adventure.
So in terms of this is a lifestyle choice, what would you do differently if you were starting out a decade ago again, knowing what you know now? What would you have done differently in your choices you've made?
Oh gosh,
not accumulate so much on the trailer.
yeah, that too. When we first started house sitting, we actually thought about like maybe running a ground or something like that. But other than that, really, what we chose, and then being able to have a job that made really good money on top of us not having to pay rent, that afforded us the opportunity to help others with money.
Yeah, fantastic.
And then allowed us to actually bring our daughter and our grandkids to this country and move them in. So, I don't know if that answers your question, but I don't see that I would have done anything differently.
Yeah, no, look, there is no right answer when it comes to your own personal reflections on your journey. So I want to ask you another question then. If I were somebody thinking about making the same kind of decision that you've made as a lifestyle choice, and I have to say there is a little bit of appeal in the thought of just having a bag and going to someone else's house and letting them have all the worry. And not taking too much, just taking enough to live off. There is a bit of appeal there. I think I could offload the adult children that have moved home. That'd be good. But what wisdom would you share with me if I was thinking this is something I wanted to do?
Well, it's definitely not for everybody, and it does sound appealing because you don't have all of the expenses, and it allows you to save money and travel and do a lot of things. But the thing that you have to realize is that you have to be pretty handy. You have to, if I'd been doing it on my own, I'm not sure I could have done it that long, because having Joe with me, he's really handy.
Yeah.
He was a builder and he knows how to fix things, and he can take care of problems around the house, if a water pipe bursts or something like that.
Yes. Yeah.
And so if I was a single woman, I may not have done some of the things that I did. So it helped having a handyman with me.
Yes. Yeah.
And somebody who really enjoyed what we were doing. The other thing is that you have to be a pet lover.
Yes.
Because
yeah.
98% of the ones that we've gotten had pets of some sort. And we even did a farm that had sheep and cows and
fantastic
with chooks and goats and pigs and so you kind of have to be willing to deal with that kind of stuff. Of course, you don't have to take those kind of house sits. You do have your choice, but it's good to have a little strength. Sometimes if we had one that had 2 huge dogs, and when I used to walk them, it was in the country, but they'd want to go after the roos, and so you'd have to really hold them. So I felt like Superwoman with a dog on each hand, and I would be walking stiff backed with my legs forward, just trying to hang on to them.
So the dogs walked you, Deb, rather than you walking the dogs.
Exactly. So you have to have a little strength. And the other thing that I think you have to, like you were saying, that you like having your stuff around you and you want to make it your own. You have to be comfortable in other people's lives.
Yes.
You have to see, I like that. That's one of the things that really excites me about house sitting, is going into a house. I look at the pictures. I try to imagine what their lives are like, what their grandchildren are like, where they've traveled to, what is their taste in art? What is their taste in decorating? I just love that.
So you're a bit of a voyeur, a bit of voyeurism in there.
Yeah, I guess so.
Amazing. Look, it's an amazing life that you've had, Deb. I just know that you've had that freedom to choose where you're going to be, to have as you said, to have the financial capacity to do things that you probably wouldn't have been able to do otherwise, like help your family members out. And I know from personal experience, for those that are listening, I've had the opportunity to go and stay with Deb, and I was her worst house guest because I lit a fire and I managed to melt the remote at one house, so that was fun. And Deb was probably thinking, oh, I won't bring her back down again, but she has invited me again. But that was a beautiful house sit down in Bustleton, out in the bush. It was just stunning, and I do have to recommend Joe. He's made the best food, pork roast. Like, I'm not a big pork roast fan, but Joe's pork roast I would eat any day. It was so delicious. And I might add, Joe got to taste my veggie soup, and he's not a veggie soup eater, but he ate every last little bit of soup that was in the bowl and wanted more. So, I think these adventures can expand our tastes, whether it's our household furniture taste or our taste bud experience. I think I love your sense of adventure. Just for the listeners, you're married to a man who was a ski resort instructor, so you've had a taste of adventure in the snow, but you've now had a taste of adventure in the outback of Australia and on our beautiful beaches. Would you say our beaches are the best in the world, Deb?
Oh my God, the beaches are just amazing. And to be able to enjoy the ocean as much as I do. Like right now, we lucked into this little apartment that's 3 blocks away. And I can walk 3 blocks and take my boogie board and just hop in the ocean from my house. It's just so cool.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I love WA.
The beaches here. Oh gosh. So
it's
even
amazing.
On the East Coast, when we were traveling the East Coast, some of the beaches, it's different, on the East Coast and the West Coast. Their beaches are different, and not that one's more beautiful than the other, because if you go down to Denmark and you go to places like Green's Pool, oh my God,
beautiful, stunning.
Places in Esperance, like Twilight Beach, just turquoise, clean water, beautiful. Oh, yes. I just love it.
Yeah. No, I think our beaches are stunning. I'm a New South Wales born woman who's chose to come to WA probably 35 years ago. But I love WA beaches. I think they're the best in the world. And I've walked a lot of New South Wales beaches. I think if you go to Victoria, the beaches are not as good at all. Maybe up north. I think Queensland's probably a little bit parallel, Surfers Paradise and a bit further up in the Gold Coast there's some nice beaches.
Towards Cairns too.
Yeah.
Even further north. Yeah, beautiful.
And you love that tropical water feel when you put your feet in the water at night and it's warm. It's beautiful. But our beaches here in Perth, they're the best in the world, I say. And
I don't disagree.
Last question, Deb. Where to from here? What's next for you in your journey of freedom?
Oh my gosh. Well, we actually had plans to do some house sitting in Europe. My husband actually, he is originally from Czechoslovakia. So he applied for his EU passport and he was given that. And we had plans to go there and house sit. But my daughter came into town with my grandies instead. So that kind of kept us from doing that. But we haven't given up on that idea. It depends on what's happening in the world, you see.
Yes.
And we're just kind of enjoying retirement now. I'm gardening for the first time in my life because I never had a garden,
Wow.
So I'm planting and I'm enjoying that. And, I play with my pictures. I love photography and so not quite as adventurous as it has been in the past, but who knows what the world is going to bring us.
Yeah, who knows? And that is the $1 million question, and we're going to leave it there with you, Deb. Thank you so much for joining us today and for hearing Deb's story. And you might want to consider being a professional house sitter. There's some financial benefits to it if you can be comfortable being in somebody else's skin and living the voyeuristic journey, as Deb has described it to us, of being comfortable being somebody else's a pet owner for a few weeks, or garden keeper, or property maintenance specialist. You might want to think about having given it a go. And I'm looking forward to coming in and seeing Deb soon and getting one of those lovely pork roasts from Jo. Hi, I'm Hayley Solich, and you've been listening to the Gold Digger podcast. Please follow us on Facebook, and if there's someone you want us to interview, let us know. Catch you soon. Bye for now.